finally, the big game, the night game in primetime Saturday night. Number 8 Ohio State versus number 9 Tennessee. Both come in as 10-2 at-large bids, but that loss to Michigan. I just got a weird feeling that it's going to have a weird effect on how Ohio State goes into this game, what their mindset is. You know, coming back from that loss. We'll have to see. We'll have to see early. I think they need to get the crowd on their side early, and they need to get the play calling going early, because both these teams are really good on defense, and we'll just have to see. I'll break that down here in a second. Resume-wise, both are top 15 in record strength. Tennessee's played a lot easier strength of schedule. They're 67th. Ohio State's 31st. They had 2 Tier 1 wins. They had obviously they had a big win against Alabama. Only Tier 1 loss was to Georgia. Meanwhile, Ohio State had good wins over Penn State and Indiana, obviously, but they had that Tier 2 loss to Michigan. Again, I can't get over how bad of a loss that was. It was great. Go Blue. So those are kind of the resume stats right now. Both teams are really good on defense. Not going to see anything that pops out to you on offense just yet. So those are kind of like the base stats. Not really too much else to say about this one. Some in-depth stats here. What is Ohio State's advantage? Again, their defense. So number 1 in scoring defense, and number 1 in total yardage defense, and they're number 2 in yards per play versus Tennessee, who's 34th on offense in that category. So that's a big key. Meanwhile, Tennessee rushing defense is going to be a huge factor. They're 4th in yards allowed per rush, while Ohio State's 29th on offense. So that'll be a key to look at as well. Ohio State on defense, in terms of the red zone, they're top 5 on both offense and defense. Touchdowns getting in the red zone, they're top 5 on both offense and defense. Ohio State allows the fewest touchdowns while opponents are in the red zone in the country, and they have the 4th most touchdowns per possession when they get to the red zone. So that'll be a key factor for them to win this game. And also the pass rush. I mean, you could say all you want. That's the most important factor in most of these games. Can your D-line create pressure and get to the quarterback and create sacks and eventually lead to turnovers? Ohio State has done that all season, and I think they will continue to do it in this game against Tennessee, who's 74th in pass rush, adjusted pass rush allowed, meaning they give up their bottom half of allowing sacks per game. So, and the rushing yards, again, just like passing yards on defense, Ohio State's rushing yards allowed on defense is a top 10 too. So that's going to be, again, a key factor in this, and why, it would be one of the keys to why Ohio State could win this game. First, Tennessee, though. Establish Sampson early. The running back, they have to establish the run. I said this almost every game. It's easy to say this, but they have to establish a run game. They cannot let Nico force them. If he passes 35 times, they're going to lose this game. And Sampson's been one of the better running backs in not only the SEC, but in the country this year. If they can get him going a little bit early, get a little off bounds, balance attack, that'll be key for them, especially against this great defense. The second one, make Howard be the focal point. When Ohio State rushes the ball more than Howard passes it, they win by I think 20 points every game. When he becomes the focal point and has to pass a decent much, they either lose the game or it's within 2 scores. So they have to make Howard become the focal point of their offense, and having him start making decisions, because there's been times in big games he has not made the right decision. Finally, I decided to add this. Tried to Michigan, Ohio State. Just like with Penn State doing against SMU, Tennessee has to get in the mindset early that they're the better team. They not even close to what they were in 22 for their defense or their offense, but their defense is substantially better, and that's been one of the keys they got to 10-2 this year, because their defense has improved substantially. And if they just try to bully Ohio State, just like Michigan did, try to get them off rhythm, try to get them off plays, force that crowd to get a little more nervous, those boos in Ohio State, if there's a bad play in the third quarter and it's a 1-possession game, those boos could ring so much more effective for Tennessee than they could for Ohio State. Because if y'all watched that Michigan game against Ohio State, when they ran that draw on 3rd and 9 and then they subsequently missed the field goal, you could feel the mood flip like that. And those boos were so loud, it was almost like they turned into the away team, Ohio State did, because their fans were like, oh no, not again. Wait, this is not how this is going to go. They had that weird feeling like, we're going to lose this game. And if Tennessee can turn that crowd on Ohio State yet again, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about Ohio State. On the other hand, for Ohio State to win this game, they have, like I said, if Tennessee does not establish a run, Nico is going to have to pass the ball, and he put up gaudy stats the first 4 weeks, but it was against like the worst teams in the country, against like Kent State. I forget who else. Some FCS teams, some other MAC school. I think 15 at like second to last week of the season, he had like 18 touchdowns, and 15 of those were in the non-conference games. So in tough opponents, he's had like maybe 150. I think he's gone over only 200, like I think twice against SEC teams. So they have to rattle him and get to him, and they have to get him off rhythm, off sync, and he just really hasn't shown much to me yet about if he's a true 5-star. So we'll have to see what happens with Ohio State in that. Second one, play trestle ball. Just run the rock. Run it on first and second down almost every drive. If you have to punt, you got to punt. If you got to play field position, play field position. Just establish that you are going to play your style of ball. Establish that you're going to be the better team. Establish you're going to have the right mindset to win this game. And just establish that we don't care what the final score is. We just want to have more points at the end of the game. Doesn't need to be pretty. Doesn't need to be, fluid. It's a playoff game. Win at all costs. So play trestle ball. They just old school Big Ten, grind it out, whatever you need to do. But in the end, if trestle ball is not working for them, just throw the damn ball. If you have had the greatest wide receiving core each of the last 4 years, and you've lost to Michigan all 4 years. I don't know how many receivers they've had in the pros go to the NFL draft. I think at least 5 drafted the last 3 years. You now have the greatest freshman wide receiver in the history of your program, and that's coming off of Olave, Smith and Jigba, Wilson, Marvin Harrison. You have Abuga, who's a senior now. You have the greatest wide receiver in the history of Ohio State, and that's even better than Chris Carter. Dude, throw him the freaking ball. He only had 1 target the entire 4th quarter against Michigan. How is that physically possible? How is it humanly possible for a coach to have that much talent and you not try to give him the ball at least 10 times in one half? Throw him the damn ball. Throw Abuka the ball. There is a mismatch. And no matter who it is, you could be playing freaking Deion Sanders on all 4 defensive backs of Deion Sanders. They're going to have a mismatch eventually. He's going to get the ball. He's going to make plays. Throw the damn ball. Like I said, if the trestle ball doesn't work, it doesn't need to be pretty, but just work to your strengths. Ohio State's more stronger when they can pass the ball first, and then they can start handing off to Judkins, handing off to Henderson, because they have to start playing back because the receivers are dominating them. That's what's going to open up the pass. That's an option. That's a balanced offense. Even though it's be pass first, it'd still be a balanced offense. You pass the first, get them backed up, then even when you least expect it, then you hit some draws, you hit some screens, you hit some short runs. That's going to be the keys to this game for Ohio State. And if they can do that, I think they will win. In the end, I think Tennessee will probably cover this as 7.5-point dogs, but I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game. See what happens.